So I've got something super exciting for you today on Ton Does Linux. We've been getting a lot of questions about Linux in the enterprise world, and I thought who better to dive into this than my buddy Ton, right?
I'm genuinely enthusiastic about this topic, Adrian. Enterprise Linux is truly my area of expertise. I've been working extensively with these systems for quite a considerable time in my professional career.
I must say, whenever we discuss enterprise topics, you truly come alive. Your entire demeanor transforms.
That's because, well, there's just so much cool stuff happening in this space right now. And and I really want to break down how these massive organizations are using Linux to, you know, power their operations. It's it's actually pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Well, I can't wait to dig into all of it. There's so much ground to cover from the different distributions to security stuff, right?
Exactly. And we're going to cover all the important bits like the real nuts and bolts of how enterprises are making Linux work for them.
So, let's start with something I've always wondered about. What is it that makes Linux such a perfect fit for these big enterprise environments?
Where do I even Well, first of all, it's all about stability, right? And when I say stability, I mean these systems can run for years, literally years, without needing to reboot. Like, I worked with this one financial institution, and their core trading platform had been running continuously for, get this, over 900 days.
Wait, that's almost 3 years without a reboot?
Exactly. And that's not even the most impressive part. You see, the whole security aspect is just, it's absolutely phenomenal. Like with Linux, you've got this incredible level of control over every single component of your system, right? And the way it handles permissions and user access, it's just it's exactly what enterprises need.
So it's really about that control and reliability then?
Yeah, but there's more to it. You know what I mean? The cost factor is just, it's mind-blowing. I remember this one client, they were spending millions, literally millions, on proprietary software licenses. And and when we moved them to Linux, we cut their licensing costs by like something like 70%.
Wow, that's actually incredible. But doesn't it cost more in other ways?
That's the thing. It really doesn't. Because, well, first off, you've got this amazing community support, right? And and then there's the professional support from companies like Red Hat and Suse. But the real game changer is how customizable everything is. Like at this one manufacturing company I worked with, they needed this very specific setup for their automation systems. With Linux, we just built it exactly the way they needed it.
Um, hmm. It sounds like there's a lot of flexibility there.
Oh my goodness, yes. And and that's what makes it so perfect for enterprises. Because every business has its own unique requirements, right? With Linux, you can literally shape the operating system to fit your needs, not the other way around. And and when you combine that with the stability and security we talked about, it's just it's just a perfect storm of features for enterprise environments.
Um, so let's dig into something really interesting here. What are the main Linux distributions that these big companies are actually using?
Oh man, this is actually super exciting to talk about. So, like in the enterprise world, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or RHEL as we call it, is just, it's absolutely dominating the space. And the reason for that is, well, it's got this incredible track record of stability and enterprise grade support.
So what makes Rebel stand out from the others?
The thing about RHEL is it's like they've got this amazing certification program, right? And and when you're running mission critical systems, you need to know that your hardware and software they're going to work together perfectly. Plus, the support contract you get with Red Hat is just, it's absolutely top notch.
Um, what about some of the other options out there?
Well, Suse Linux Enterprise Server is another big player, and they're particularly strong in Europe, especially in Germany. They've got this really interesting focus on like mainframe computing and large scale deployments. And and then there's Ubuntu, right? Canonical's been making these huge strides in the enterprise space.
So how do companies actually choose between these options?
That's Such a good question. It really comes down to like specific needs and requirements. So, like, if you're a company that needs that rock solid support contract and you've got the budget, RHEL is probably your go-to. And and with Suse, they're really strong in certain verticals like retail and financial services.
What about Ubuntu in all of this?
Oh man, Ubuntu is just it's really interesting because they've carved out this amazing niche in cloud infrastructure. Like so many cloud native applications are running on Ubuntu and their update cycle is just it's perfect for companies that want to stay current with new technologies but still need that enterprise grade stability.
Um, so it sounds like there's no one-size-fits-all solution?
Exactly, exactly. And that's what makes this whole ecosystem so so vibrant. You know what I mean? Like some companies might even use different distributions for different workloads. And and then you've got these specialized distributions like Oracle Linux for companies heavily invested in Oracle databases. It's all about finding that perfect fit for your specific use case.
Um, so here's something I've been really curious about. How do these big companies actually manage, like, thousands of Linux systems at once?
Oh man, this is where it gets really fascinating. So these days it's all about automation, right? Like no one's sitting there manually configuring servers anymore. And and the tools we've got now are just they're absolutely incredible.
What kind of tools are we talking about here?
So like Ansible is just it's become this absolute powerhouse in enterprise environments. And and what's amazing about it is how it can just configure thousands of systems simultaneously. Plus, tools like Puppet and Chef are still they're really strong players in this space.
So what makes these automation tools so essential?
The thing is, when you're dealing with enterprise scale deployments, you need this consistency, right? And and these tools let you define your infrastructure as code, which is just it's absolutely game changing. Like you can version control your entire infrastructure configuration and roll back changes if something goes wrong.
Um, what about monitoring all these systems?
Oh, that's where tools like Prometheus and Grafana come in and they're incredible. Like you can monitor literally everything in real time. And and when you combine that with something like ELK stack for log management, you get this complete visibility into your entire infrastructure.
How do companies handle updates across all these systems?
That's another really interesting aspect. So, most enterprises use these specialized management platforms like Red Hat Satellite or Suse Manager, and and they're absolutely crucial for controlling updates. Like you can test updates on a small group of systems first, and then gradually roll them out across your entire infrastructure.
What about the actual day-to-day management?
So this is where things like configuration management databases come in, right? And and modern enterprises are using tools like ServiceNow to track everything about their infrastructure. Plus, we're seeing this huge shift toward container orchestration with Kubernetes, which is just it's revolutionizing how we manage applications at scale.
Hmm, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. With all these enterprise systems we've been talking about, what about security? Like, how do companies keep everything locked down?
Oh man, that's such a crucial point. Security in Linux is just it's absolutely fascinating and it's one of the areas where Linux really shines in enterprise environments. Like the built-in security features are just they're incredible.
Could you give me some specific examples of these features?
So first there's SE Linux, right? And and it's this amazing mandatory access control system that Red Hat really pioneered. Like it lets you define these super detailed security policies and and it's absolutely essential for maintaining compliance standards.
How does that work in practice?
Well, in my experience, like I worked with this financial services company and they were using SE Linux to completely isolate different applications from each other. Plus, We implemented AppArmor on some systems, which is it's another powerful security feature that helps control what resources applications can access.
What about meeting those strict compliance requirements?
Oh, that's where Linux really shows its strength. So many enterprises need to meet these standards like SOX, PCI DSS, and HIPAA, right? And and Linux has these amazing auditing capabilities built right in. Like you can track literally every system, access every file modification, and generate these detailed reports that auditors just they absolutely love.
What about vulnerability management?
That's that's another area where the enterprise Linux distributions really excel. Like Red Hat and Suse have these incredible security teams that that constantly monitor for vulnerabilities. And and when they find something, they can push out patches super quickly through their update systems.
Sounds like there's a lot of moving parts to manage.
Exactly. And that's why we use these specialized security tools like OpenSCAP, right? It helps ensure that all our systems are configured according to these security benchmarks. Plus, tools like Tripwire for file integrity monitoring, and and they're absolutely essential for maintaining a strong security posture.
What about encryption?
Oh man, Linux has just it's got some of the most robust encryption tools available, like dmcrypt for full disk encryption and integrated support for things like TPM modules. Plus, the whole certificate management system is just, it's incredibly well thought out for enterprise use.
Um, T. Looking ahead a bit, what do you see as the big trends coming up in enterprise Linux? Like, where's all this heading?
Oh man, this is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. The future of enterprise Linux is just, it's absolutely incredible. And it's really all about containerization right now. Like Kubernetes and Docker they've completely revolutionized how we think about deploying applications.
How are companies actually using these technologies?
So in my experience, right, companies are just they're going all in on containerization. And it's not just about running containers, it's about building these entire cloud native architectures. Like we're seeing microservices becoming the standard and Linux is just it's absolutely at the heart of all this.
What about specific tools that are gaining traction?
Well, there's this huge shift towards like tools like OpenShift, right? And it's built on Kubernetes but adds all these enterprise features. Plus we're seeing this amazing growth in serverless technologies and tools like Native that just they make it so much easier to build and deploy cloud native applications.
Tell me more about where automation fits into all this.
Oh, that's such a crucial point. Automation is just it's becoming absolutely essential. Like we're seeing GitOps practices where everything is managed through Git repositories and infrastructure as code is just it's becoming the standard way of doing things. Tools like Ansible and Terraform are just they're absolutely transforming how we manage enterprise environments.
What about AI and machine learning?
That's another huge trend that's just it's really taking off. Linux is becoming this incredible platform for AI workloads and we're seeing all these specialized distributions and tools being developed. Like companies are using Linux to power their machine learning pipelines and the integration with cloud services is just it's getting better and better every day.
How about edge computing?
Edge computing is just it's exploding right now and Linux is perfectly positioned for this because of its lightweight nature and flexibility. Like we're seeing these specialized Linux distributions for edge devices and they're being used in everything from retail to manufacturing to telecommunications. The ability to run containers at the edge is just it's opening up so many possibilities.
Wow, we've covered so much ground today. I feel like we've really gotten into the nuts and bolts of Linux and enterprise.
Yeah, and it's been absolutely amazing to dive deep into this topic because like Linux is just it's completely revolutionizing how enterprises operate, right? And we've only scratched the surface of what's possible.
What would you say is like the biggest takeaway for someone looking to implement Linux in their enterprise environment?
So the main thing is really, it's all about understanding that Linux isn't just an operating system, right? It's this whole ecosystem that just, it enables innovation and drives efficiency across the entire organization. Like whether you're talking about security or scalability or cost effectiveness, Linux just, it delivers on all fronts.
Um, that really puts it into perspective. I think our listeners got a ton of value from this discussion.
Absolutely. And I just want to emphasize that anyone looking to make this transition should just, they should really take it step by step, right? Like start small, build expertise, and then scale up. That's the key to success.
Thanks so much for sharing all this knowledge today. And to our amazing listeners of Ton Does Linux, we've got something really exciting coming up next week.
Oh yeah, we're going to be diving into getting started with the command line interface. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.